What is up, everybody? We're going to give everyone a few minutes to hop on in. What's up, Justin?
What's up? What's up? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. There's Mike. What is up, guys?
Hi.
Let's see. Where's Dameon? Dameon, he's not in here yet. Good morning, y'all. How's everybody doing today?
Good morning, doing great.
Yolanda, I need to call you later.
Okay, thanks.
Dameon just texted me, said his connection is terrible. No worries, Dameon. Y'all, we're going to give everyone a few minutes to hop on in here, but get active in the chat. Say hi to everybody. What's up, Roby?
How is life going today?
It's going, man. I thought yesterday was Thursday, if that tells you anything.
Well, that's right.
It's that kind of day, that kind of week. But everyone's getting prepared for Thanksgiving.
Woo. It's my favorite holiday.
Right? I'm excited to eat some food, y'all.
I hear you.
No judgment, no guilt. All the carbs. It's going to be great.
Indeed.
Good morning, Yvette. Ooh, Diana from SoCal. Look at you. Give it about another 2 minutes and we'll get started here. Justin, what you been up to today, man?
Not a lot. I was planning, I had a dentist appointment this morning and I get there and there was some issues with the insurance and the appointment was at 8 a.m. Long story short, I didn't get to see the dentist today.
Oh, no.
So no big deal. It's not the end of the world, but that's how my morning's going. So
Oh my God. The dentist never makes it easy, right?
they don't. It's really not their fault though. It's more of an insurance thing, but gotta love insurance, right?
Oh, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. Welcome, guys. Hey, do me a favor. I need you guys to all go in Discord and the creative group and make a post about what we're doing in here today for agent outreach. And today we're working on comping and a little bit of underwriting, and we're going to do that live. And then once we comp something, we are going to, Dameon is actually going to call the agent for the property that he comps. So make sure you make a post, get some people in here, and we are about to rock and roll. Dameon, there you are. See you. What's up?
Hey, sorry, my my connection is terrible.
Do you have a Suddenlink? Because it's
I have no clue what the Wi-Fi is. I don't know if I know the password.
oh my
Yeah, I just moved here, so I don't know.
Well, guys, good morning. Welcome. We are so happy to have you. And we like attention. So in the chat, we want you guys to be as active as you can. And when you pay attention to us and are active in the chat, you learn more. So make sure that you are asking questions, saying hello to everybody, and we are going to get started. Justin, what are we doing today?
We are going to be doing some fun stuff. So we'll be looking at comping. We're going to go through the ways that we comp. Comping is not a science, it's an art. So everyone does it a little bit differently. So we'll just go through a few ways that we do it. Typically we get close to the same number, but that's what we're going to do today. Awesome.
So guys, if you are just now joining us for our Zooms on Thursday, we like to start out with some wins or some lessons. So if anyone has some wins from this week, from last week, please raise your hand. We'll get through a couple. Sharing a little bit about what we all are working on and how that's going is only going to make each of you better. So, and to see that we all struggle with the same thing, right? We all go through the same emotions. We all go through the same thought process on a lot of things. Like, am I doing this right? And I don't know what I'm doing. How does this work? And what questions do I ask? So if someone's got a win they want to share or talk about maybe their homework from last week, right? We had homework. Let me see. I know someone wants to talk, so I'm gonna see who we got in here. And guys, didn't have to be this astronomical thing, right? It could just be something as simple as, hey, I did my homework, or I called a few people and this is what I learned out of it. So let's see. Dameon, did you learn anything last week or this
Yeah,
week?
I'm always learning. What did I learn? I learned something today. Actually, like a few minutes ago from Mike. Mike helped me out. It was a divorce situation, and it was like that how you have to handle those kind of situations as far as like having a degree and knowing if it's finalized or not. And once they once they're actually trying to go through the divorce, they have to like actually be split off the mortgage, so they have to sell their house. They can't, do certain things that we like to do. So you have to kind of take all that into effect. So I learned that today. So that was new.
Yeah, it can be really complicated when you're dealing with people going through a divorce, for sure. They want to be able to split their assets and be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Shin, I see you, my man. I know you've been working hard. Let's see what you got. What did you learn this past week?
Yeah, I've been calling agents, and one of the things that surprised me was, how to make an offer that I was kind of afraid to make an offer to. And I actually did what you told me, Don. Like, went over the reasoning why I came up with the number. It was like half of the offer compared to the listing price. But when I went through why I came up with a number, agent actually understood, like, okay, that makes sense. And they didn't take it, but I was able to set up the next follow-up call. So I was kind of afraid to even talk to them, but just by talking to them, just be honest about it, I was kind of surprised that they are willing to, have another conversation. And another person I talked to, what was it? So the person didn't want to take any cash offer, but they came with that, I guess, a little bit more of a, I want to help you kind of attitude. And so they're trying to remove the listing because it's been like 180 days or so. But after talking to the agent's actually willing to have one more conversation with the seller to understand their motivation one more time. And, and they're also willing to have one more conversation with what else can we possibly do. Yeah, so I'm actually surprised that by talking to having a conversation, there's like a way to just continue, kind of dig through in some possibilities.
That's awesome, man. That's a great job. See, it's not as bad when you go about it as just having that conversation and just being honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And walking them through your thought process really gets them to understand what you're thinking. And if they don't agree with it, that's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then they can get a better understanding of if someone else comes to them in that same capacity, they know that they're not coming in maybe with a lowball offer just for the sake of lowballing, but this is the reasoning behind it. So you did a great job. I'm glad that conversation went well, and you even got to a follow-up call. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. But I couldn't do this without your advice. I
Oh,
was just
well,
kind of scared
it's
to
all
even
of us.
follow.
It's all of us, right? I mean, we all go through a lot of the same learning process. It's just a matter of getting on the phone and actually going through it, right? If you work off of just hypothetical, you're never going to learn anything, right? You're going to have a whole list of questions that you think of in your head, but if you don't have that reciprocation back of having an actual conversation, then you're never really going to actually move forward and be able to progress. So
Yeah, sure. And one more thing I learned this week was that I was really scared to call people like last week or so. But I think I made like a 10, maybe 20 call a day. And after that, even if like some people say like, hey, what do you want? Yeah, I don't take that. I was like, okay, sure, I understand. After a while, I just stop taking it personally. Yeah,
there you go.
I was like, it really tires me out. But after a while, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, this doesn't work out. Yeah, thank you. Have a nice day. And
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
You just move on, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You're not going to
Mhm.
mesh with everybody. You're not going to, the conversations aren't going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, right? So
Yeah.
you did a good job, and now you're building calluses, right?
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and being able to, after making so many calls, it becomes a lot easier, or you know what to expect, right?
Mhm.
If they answer this way, how am I going to react? If they answer this way, how am I going to react? And it's not so much of a surprise, right, to yourself anymore.
Right.
Of, oh my God, what am I going to do when they say this? What am I going to do when they ask this? And so I'm super proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
man.
so much.
Keep
Yeah.
it
Good
up.
job, Shane.
Yeah. Thanks to all y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ooh, buddy, that was good, right?
Absolutely.
You do your homework, it really can pay off. So awesome job, Shin. All right, Dameon, what is next? What are we going into?
We are going over the five, is it the five, the things we're looking at as far as comp. So whenever we're comping, we want to, especially nowadays, we want to be more precise with our numbers and how we kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Underwrite.
Underwrite, basically. Yeah, how we underwrite our comparables. We're gonna have Don and Justin kind of go over like the certain things that we look at on two different kind of spectrums. And kind of see, you know, what things we need to point out and kind of make it like an easy kind of 5-step process as far as like what we're doing.
Yeah. And guys, remember that comping, it's an art, not a science. So if you see Justin and I doing something different than maybe Benson or Pace or any other investor that you work with, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily the wrong way, right? We're all trying to get to probably the same things. We have the same things we want to follow, right? That makes sense, right? We're not going to, you know, completely just be totally different, but we might get different numbers based on the way we comp or what we're looking for. So, Justin, do you want to go ahead and pull up Privy and share your screen?
Let's do it. Let me know if y'all can see this. Can everyone see my screen?
It's
See
loading.
pretty?
There it is.
There we go.
Awesome.
Perfect. So guys, what we're going to do right now is Justin is going to go and find a property that we can use as an example. And he's going to go through his comping process. And as he's going through it, since he's got control of the screen and the mouse, I'm going to go in and kind of add what maybe I would do a little different as we go through. So just to give you a couple of different perspectives.
All
And
right.
then I'm going to share in the chat Laura Morby's comping rules that is in Discord. So if you guys need that, make sure you go in to Discord. It'll be on the left-hand side under, where's it go? Documents and resources. And then it's just her Google comping sheet. And I'll paste the link here in just a second. Let's see, copy. Boom. All right, guys, feel free to open that and follow along. What I would do is if you're gonna open that, download a copy for yourself so you can make your own notes. That's what I did. When Laura was going through hers, I was making notes because she is a ninja when it comes to comping. And she had a lot of great points in there. So I made notes as well and things that I can look at differently when I'm doing my own version of comping. So follow along, ask questions, be active in the chat. So if you have a question, put it in the chat or raise your hand if it pertains to comping. Later, we'll go through Q&A, just in a general Q&A. So, but if it relates to what we're doing with comping, raise your hand so we can answer that question. All right, Justin, take it away, my man.
All right, guys. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm on Privy, I'm setting the filters. I'm gonna try to find some distressed looking properties or properties that just need some TLC and some love. So first thing I'm doing here is I'm just setting my parameters. I have fix and flip set up. I'm
How
trying
did
to
you
stay
get there,
on.
Justin?
I'm sorry.
How did you get there?
Oh
The
yeah, let me go.
filter.
Let me save this.
Just so we all start from the same place.
Yeah, no worries. Let me go back. Okay, guys. So when you're on Privy, this is kind of what your homepage is going to look like. And then what you do is you go to filter. And then that's going to bring up where the page that I was just on. So I'm in the Dallas market, obviously. So I'm going to look for properties in the Dallas area. I'm only going to stick to single family. Let's do properties that are active on the market. We don't want properties that are under contract already or pending or sold. We want to be targeting properties that are active on the market. We'll be looking for fix and flip properties. And then, like I said, we'll be looking for properties with a price point of like 300 to 350 is a good starting point. And the reason you kind of want to start in that price point is because you got to think about what your end buyer is looking for, the person that you're going to assign that contract to, that fix and flipper. So you're going to have the most buyers in this price point of around 300 to 350 and below. So that's what we'll be looking for there. As far as square footage goes, I'm just going to try to stay under 3,000 square feet. I'm not looking for a mansion or anything like that. We're just looking for a normal property. And then as far as the build goes, we're not looking for brand new construction, guys. We want something that's a little bit older that we can do some work in and renovate it, repair it, and put it back on the market. So I'll do 1990s here as far as on the high side of your build year. And then days on market, we'll be looking at 90 days here.
Do you want that as your high, or you want that as your low?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got that in the wrong spot.
No, you're good. I was just checking, man.
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So 90 days, because we want to make sure that property, there's a situation there. Either it's overpriced. Typically it's overpriced, and that's why it's sitting on the market. Other times it's just, it's an ugly property. People don't like it. So.
Well, and when it's on 90 days, what's something that normally happens around that 90-day mark? It's almost like it creates pain itself, right? Yeah. Because the length of time is eating away. If they're still paying on a mortgage and they're already maybe vacant on the property, then they're paying 2 mortgages, right? Yeah. Or if it's free and clear and it's just sitting there, it's like, well, man, I have to maintain this property while I'm waiting for it to sell, kind of thing. So, and guys, you get a lot of this when you're trying to figure out, where it makes sense for your buyers if you have them, like if you're looking for properties for your buyers. Justin likes to look at max the 1990s because he just likes that price range, or that range that is the type of build maybe, or he knows there's going to be a little bit more pain there because it fits for a fix and flip, and that we might be able to negotiate a little differently. Some people, some of your buyers may be looking for anything that is 1960s or older or newer, and they don't care anywhere in that range between 1960 and now, right? So you'll get to understand those things and what your buyers want the more you talk to them. But at the beginning, we know that you're not going to have buyers be able to talk to and find properties for on the outset. So it's okay if you don't, but set parameters that make sense, that the majority of investors would be interested in, right? And then on the ARV, Justin, why do we pick 90 or 65%?
So that's because the market has shifted, and you always want to be in communication with your buyers. And since the market shifted, since inflation's high, since interest rates are high, everyone's buyer pool is shrinking down. So that means that the fix and flipper that you're assigning this deal for, they need to have more of a cushion because they're really taking a risk at this point if they're going to go and buy a property. So that we need to make sure that we're, you know, getting these properties under contract for a price that works for them so they can make some profit on it too. I would say up until about probably a good 3 to 6 months ago now, you could probably do about 70, even 75% of ARV when we were in the really, you know, good market where interest rates were still low. But since the market has shifted, if you talk to your cash buyers, a lot of them are just, they need to buy at a steeper discount. So I'm putting 65%. There's probably buyers out there too that want to be at 60%. So it's just a conversation that, you know, everyone needs to have with their cash buyers.
Right, I agree. And that's kind of what we're hearing from the buyers is, you know, they may be willing to buy at 70% if they knew it would sell as soon as they were done maybe doing a fix and flip, even though the percentages are high in the market, right? Because it's still people wanting to buy. But with them being so high, they have to pad, just like you said, their cushion and their profit so that if it does happen to sit, then they can still make a profit. But it makes sure that it covers maybe holding costs that they may not be anticipating from the outset, right? So that's why you kind of, as you go and as you start learning how to do this and getting in front of more people, you'll be able to kind of speak to, okay, I know my buyer John is buying anything at 65%. I know Kelsey is going over here and he's buying at 60%, but he doesn't care what the repairs are, right? So you'll learn these things as you go with your relationships with people. But I think 65% is a great spot to start. And then as you go searching for buyers, like, ooh, I think I could get this property at 65%. Let me go see if someone might be interested. And then we can move on from there. But great job. Dameon, you got anything to add?
And I want to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dameon.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say basically I liked how, like, you know, using the keyword features as well with Privy is great. Is him with P and TLC. A lot of these agents nowadays understand that whatever kind of property it is, if it's like an investor type property, they'll always put like TLC, or depending on their situation, they may put like motivated seller, but sometimes I put that in there too. This depends on like the kind of area and what you're looking for. But yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah, you guys can add those tags in there, TLC. Some people use rehab in there. I've seen that. We'll see what comes up. Is that it?
Let's see. I wanted to say one more thing too, is when we're looking at days on market and we're at 90 days, the realtor that you're reaching out to, they only get paid if they sell the property. So typically when realtors do get involved, they sign a listing agreement with the seller, and there's usually a time frame that they are agreed to that where they need to sell the house by, or else their contract there expires too. So when you're reaching out to realtors, especially the properties on 90 days, they're going to be more motivated as well to work with you, or else they're not going to get paid. So kind of, you know, that's kind of common sense, self-explanatory, but that's just something to keep in the back of your mind too, is like they are motivated just as much as the seller probably is to get something done.
Yeah. And someone asked a great question. Katrina asked, do you use, have you tried seller finance as a keyword or creative finance? And Carolyn answered it, but I want everyone to be able to understand is that yes, you can absolutely use those when you're searching. And it will kind of really narrow down on certain properties that you may be looking for, or the type. So yeah, use that feature, guys. Play around with Privy, get familiar with it, and see what you can do to find properties that you're looking for your buyers. But that's a great question, Katrina. Thank you, Carolyn. Ooh. Did we find one?
I think this one looks like I mean, when you see pictures like this, what do you guys think? Like,
it's totally renovated, right?
Yeah. Do you think they hired a professional photographer to do this, or?
No.
All right, I think. Yeah, I think this is a good
awesome.
one, guys.
All right. Well, man, that was quick, right?
Yeah, and I only saw that there was 2 properties, so I probably could have, if you do get in that situation where you're only finding a few properties, you can be a little bit more lenient on your filters too. So I could have went back and adjusted maybe days on market. I could have probably went to 75 maybe, or I could have adjusted the property characteristics and changed the square footage, something like that. But
You
just
can even try a
if
different
you,
area.
what's that?
You could even, expand your area,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. But let's do this one, guys. So this is what I'll go through my process now, what I do. So the first thing that I do when I'm looking at a subject property is I want to write down all the information regarding the subject property I'm looking at. So I don't have to keep on referring back and have open links and stuff like that. So I already have like this template that I use. And guys, this is just a Google Sheets, like super easy. If y'all want, what I can do after this is maybe make a copy of this and share it to y'all, but this is just something that I use. So I don't have to keep on going back and forth, and it just gives me a good overview of what I'm looking at. So I want to go ahead and type in all the information here. So we got the address. I have subdivision here. You want to try to stay when you're comping, guys, in the same neighborhood. So let's see if Privy.
And guys, the biggest goal is we're trying to find the sister property, right? The
Mhm.
house next door. We want to find the most similar and closest property that we can in all aspects so that we can really narrow down what our comps are and get a really clear understanding of what our ARV could be or what we could purchase it at.
Yeah, this is a little bit smaller of a property, 1432 square feet. And it says 5 beds, 2 baths.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does that kind of tell you as far as like being a small property and having like 5 bed, 2 bath? Like, what's your first kind of thought?
My thought is they could have converted a garage and made some more bedrooms.
The first thing that pops into my head is it permitted? I don't know. It's like, wait a minute, that doesn't match. There's something here.
Well, and I wonder too, it looks like there's that could be a detached garage or a shed of some sorts. I wonder if they're counting that too.
Yeah, and we can probably look at that here in just a second. But
Yeah.
what's your first thought, Dameon?
No, exactly what you were saying. Like, is it permitted?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, even if like, maybe they can't even do like traditionally, like, traditional financing or stuff like that, just because of like what they have, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like that's like one of my first reasons, like maybe that's why I sit on the market before I even kind of talk to the agent.
Mhm.
And just the stuff like that, like what's kind of going on with that.
Yeah, so this is a weird one because 1,400 square feet, you're typically not fitting 5 bedrooms in a 1,400 square foot house. So what I would probably do at this point is call the agent and just see like, hey, like what's going on here? Because like before I go and start comping things and like seeing what's what, we need to make sure we know what we're looking at as subject property.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's see what it says in the description. There might be something down in there.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's an Oak Cliff. Okay.
3-bedroom.
3-bedroom.
MIL headquarters in the back.
Anybody know what MIL stands for? Mother-in-law. There it is. Mother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I got it. Rita almost beat me to it. I was like, MIL, what?
Here we go. So garage conversion needs a little TLC, separate large utility.
So they have, they looks like they did convert either the garage or they just added an ADU on the property.
Mhm.
So that would be kind of cute. But
what are the first things that go through like Don and Dameon? What do y'all think at this point?
As far as like, what should we spend time comping on it or not?
Right. Like, would you spend time comping on this? Would you go call the agent? Would you run it just as a 3-bedroom right now? Like, what would your next steps look like?
I would call the agent. Yeah, Junior, I'm with you. Just because, when it comes to having additions on a property and we're trying to, buy something as an investor, you always want to make sure of that first and protect yourself so you're not getting into something that you're unaware of, right? But we also don't want to, we want to spend our time wisely. We don't want to just comp a ton of properties and never talk to an agent about a property. You want to find, yeah, perfect. That's it. Junior's got it. Get answers to the unknowns first, right? So, Dameon, you got something to add to that?
Sorry, my mics and like connections are messing up. So yeah, but no, exactly. I would definitely always call the agent. Just like you guys were saying, just the unknowns, and I don't mind kind of like having a conversation because I kind of want to see where it leads to a lot of the times. To kind of see like what it kind of also just like the motivation of why they're even trying to sell. When I kind of figure out like when I kind of touch bases like, oh, I see it's like a 5-bedroom, too bad, like what's going on with that situation. Then they kind of just spill everything else out as far as like what were they trying to do or what was going on and what the possibilities are and stuff like that.
Well, awesome. Do you want to go ahead and jump on the phone with him, Dameon, then?
That's cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Jump on the phone and see if this agent answers, and then we'll get some questions. Y'all take notes and write down questions that he asks so you know what to do when you run into this situation. We'll see if they answer.
What is it? Paula?
Let me see. Justin, you know where it is?
It's Ultima Real Estate. That probably is an office number.
Hold
Yeah.
down a little bit. Yeah, I think it's.
I want to say I don't know if I called this person already. I feel like I have, but we'll see.
Is it Paulo or Paula? I can't see it.
Paula.
Paula Ortiz.
Okay.
If I did, we'll call again.
Double dial.
Or I don't know. I just feel like I've seen this property before. Was this on the challenge? Was this one on the challenge?
Was it?
I don't know why I feel like I've seen this before.
When was it listed?
Let's see. Days on market.
So that's the list number, right? So why don't we show Justin how we can find Paula's number? So
Mhm.
Katrina said it right. She Googles the agent to make sure they have the cell number and not the office number.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, guys, is taking Paula's name. We already know from Privy what her agency name is, so we can go and try to figure out what her actual contact would be. So Justin's typing it in there, making sure we're getting Paula.
There we go.
Okay, cool. Got you. And can you guys hear me okay? Because I know my thing's going up and down.
Yeah, no, I can hear you. I would say when
Okay.
you start calling, just move your phone.
Closer to me or the computer?
Yeah, closer.
Okay, cool.
To you.
This is Paula.
Hey, Paula, this is Damien. That was quick.
I'm sorry, who is this?
This is Damien. I was calling about your listing on Berkeley Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was calling to see what was kind of going on with it. I see it's been there for a little bit and needs some little touch up on it.
Yeah, it does. What information like on it?
I'm sorry?
Like what information would you like on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was wondering kind of what was the situation going on? Like, is it still available, first of all?
Yeah, it's still available. There's tenants in the property,
Got you.
and I think it's kind of been a little bit hard to show because of the tenants.
Yeah, I got you. And how long are they month to month or are they on a long term?
They're month to month.
Okay, cool. So, and it's been kind of hard to show while they're in there. Are those pictures kind of recent as far as like what you listed on the MLS?
Yeah, I redid the yeah.
Okay, got you. So right now, obviously, where the market is right now, we're kind of having to do, be mindful with our numbers as far as underwriting with the numbers. So with us purchasing their property, are the tenants open to staying there, or are they looking to move?
Yeah, they're looking to move, but they could stay there too if it's allowed.
Okay, are they pretty good tenants right now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You wouldn't happen to know how much they're paying right now for rent?
Yeah, they're paying 1,700 in the front and 1,300 in the back.
Oh, okay. So these are two separate tenants.
Yes, there's a garage apartment.
Okay, got you. That's not too bad. Okay, so 1,700 in the front and 13 in the back. Okay.
Yes.
And then how fast are you guys looking to kind of take care of the situation as far as selling the property?
ASAP.
Okay, got you. Cool. And if if we didn't sell, what was kind of the secondary backup plan for you guys? Just to keep renting it out?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Okay, cool. So I'm on it to see what my best offer is, and then go ahead and shoot an email your way to kind of see if the seller is willing to entertain it.
All right.
Okay, I
Okay,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
All right, thank you. And while I still have you, Paula, do you have any other properties that or you have listed on the market right now or anything?
If I have what?
Any other properties I can go and take a look at that you have listed or anything you're working on?
I have one in Joshua that also has it leased out, and the problem with that one is that it's a really good property. The only thing is she's allowed her pets in there. You know, when you have pet smell,
Oh yeah.
people are like really turned off by that. And then the carpet, it's not dirty. That's just the color of carpet. You know. You know, when the builder chose the carpet, you know, carpet's real cheap, so they're just gonna, oh, this is the cheapest one, and the color is like a dark brown. So you know, after it's been lived in a little bit, it's gonna look dirty. And I've always thought about the carpet when it's brown carpet, it always kind of looks dirty. But and it's way out in the boonies, and it's also like a trailer park. And it has two properties on it. It has the brick home, and then it has a little small mini house, like a little tiny house on it. And it's the little tiny house is a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's just like an apartment.
Okay.
It has everything.
And they already have that one rented out as well, right?
No, that one is the owners live in there.
Oh, the owners live in there. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely be open to looking at that one too. If you want to just text me the address and see what we can do with that one as well.
Yeah, it's 3324 China Dairy. You want me to text it to you?
Yeah, that'd be better.
Here, let's see.
Joshua, it seems like you're kind of all over the DFW.
Yeah, I've been in Dallas for a long time.
Okay, cool. No, I mainly invest out here in the DFW area. So I mean, are you open to working with any investors that are looking to buy kind of just investment properties?
Oh yeah.
Awesome, cool. So I'll definitely keep you on my Rolodex, and you can just save me as Dameon wants to buy houses.
All right, Dameon, I sure will.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, Paula, well, you have a fantastic day, and I appreciate you for answering.
You too.
All right, bye.
Whoa, dude. That was amazing. Guys, before we go into breaking that down a little bit, put in the chat what you learned about that call that you may not have known before to be able to flow with the conversation with an agent. What did you learn? Come on, let me see it. One thing that you learned in that conversation. Did she seem happy? Dameon wants to buy houses. Yeah.
I'm stealing that, dude.
Yeah, the end was amazing, right? I mean, totally connected with her. And at first, I mean, what did you guys notice about how the beginning of the conversation went and then how the end of it went, right? What does that tell you? Has she been getting a lot of calls about this one property? Does she seem excited about this one property that we originally called for? No, not at all. Not at all. But when he asked about more properties that she may have, she got super excited about the one that was in Joshua. I mean,
I don't know where Joshua is.
Exactly. Went from short to open, right? I mean, Y'all, that was great. And perfect. Diana, there you go. If tenants are in there, ask what the rents are. There's no problem with asking that question. I mean, that gives you a great idea. When she told me the rents, I was like, oh my goodness, that could be a really good cash flowing
Yeah,
property, man.
exactly.
Like, wow. Okay. Justin, what did you get out of that call?
I mean, first of all, that was a masterclass on talking to agents. Like,
I appreciate it.
she went from just like no energy, not like, you could tell she just wanted to hop off the call, and Dameon just stuck with it. And I think he just had great rapport, and he just kept on asking good questions too. So I think it's really easy and I do this sometimes too, like if an agent's kind of giving me the cold shoulder, I almost want to just hop off the phone. And I think Dameon just showed us there, like if you can just stay on the phone, build some solid rapport and show her that you're serious, I think that, you can warm up that relationship there too. And then at the end, when you ask for other properties, you're more likely to get a positive response from all that. So that's what I took away from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Dameon, what did you take away from that call?
That I need to call her back about this Berkeley property to see what we can do. But no, honestly, yeah, it's just as far as like, just kind of getting to what, like she seemed like she wanted to kind of get to the point. So I kind of just took it straight to the point. I didn't really try to, kind of build too much off of just like having that like, passive conversation. She seemed like she, what we call kind of a red kind of agent, because we usually talk about sellers. So she was red agent. So she kind of wanted to like get to the point, like, what are you looking for? And so I kind of matched her energy as far as like, getting straight to like what I'm looking for, what are the numbers, stuff in that. So she was really open as far as like telling me the information that was kind of getting to that. And then like what you said, like kind of when I asked her about the properties, she was kind of more open to like, okay, cool. So he's not just looking to do one, maybe we can get another property that I have, she probably had that one listed for a while too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and Katrina said one thing. She goes, she wanted to know more about the motivation. So why didn't you get more into the motivation? Is it because she's that red seller?
Yeah.
Right? You wanted to build rapport where you could, and then set up maybe a follow-up call to get more information later, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So guys, when you're making these calls, and Katrina, that was a great thing. I'm glad you sent me that message, because it's important for us to get all of the points, right? And what is our 4 pillars? Can everyone put that in the chat? What's one of our 4 pillars that we need to be hitting? Come on, y'all, wake up. Wake up. Motivation, yep. Condition, timeline, and price, right? So yes, we want to get to all those touch points, but is it possible that you won't get to all those touch points on just your first call? Yes, it's possible, right? So work with what you can. Dameon already identified at the beginning of that call that she was, yellow or red. And then as the conversation went a little bit further, it was red, because she just is not excited about this property, right? So we want to go with what they're going to open with, right? Let them tell you about the property, see how the conversation flows. If you don't get to all those points, then you can call and do a follow-up. Hey, I totally wanted to ask a little bit more about it. I did my numbers a little bit, but why are they selling? What's the reason behind that? I forgot to ask you that. And they'll go into it a little bit more. And especially now, because Dameon built great rapport towards the end of the call. Like she loves him now. Like she's sending him other property. She's like, all right, well, if this guy calls, then maybe I can open up a little bit more about this other property, right? So don't freak out if you don't get to all the pillars, guys. You can always have a follow-up call. Always leave it to where you can do that with an agent. So great job, Dameon. So guys, do you see why sometimes it's important for us to maybe call before we start comping a property? Yeah. Does it mean that you can't comp a property before? No, you can. But now we're going to look at this a little differently when we comp, right? Now we know, hey, we got the rent rates. We know, okay, cool. Well, we can comp it this way now because we know what could happen based on what the current situation is with the property. So Guys, there's not one way that you can do it. You can do it multiple different ways. So now that we know what we know, that it's where you have an ADU and then you have the main house, right? So would we comp it as a 3-2 or would we comp it as a 5-2? Good. There you go. Perfect. So why don't we get into that a little bit? Justin, let's go ahead and start looking at our comps, right?
Let's do it. I'm gonna adjust this real quick. This other stuff, guys, it's just minor details. 1950. We won't go into lot size and pool. That's more of just when you get into the weeds of things. But let's start looking at comps. All right.
That's a good point. Kike made a good point in there. She said, would we comp it as a 3-1 because the other bathroom is in the addition?
That is a good point. Yep. Yep, we would comp it as a 3-1. You want to do the property as is. And it's, you want to spec it out. And if it is a 3-1, yeah, that's a great question. It would definitely, we need to comp it as a 3-1. So
And
let's see what we got.
Those are important questions too to ask the agent. Like, okay, cool. It's got an addition or an ADU or a mother-in-law suite separate from the house. I know it says it's a 5-2, but what does the main house have, right? Sometimes we overlook those questions because we're just trying to get through a conversation. But it's really important to make sure that you're asking those questions so that when you do need to comp something, you're accurate as much as possible.
All right, guys, you can see here too. So Privy will give you some, some comps already. So that's nice. That's the nice thing about Privy. You'll see that we don't have anything that's going to fit it. Probably exactly a 3-1 is pretty unique. Usually if you're in the same neighborhood though, you might get some that are, that are similar to that. But here it shows we got a 2-1, we got a 4-2, and then we got a 3-3. So nothing that's going to match it exactly. So what I would do in this case is maybe look at this 2-1 first, because that's going to be the closest comparable to like what we have already. So let's click on that.
Justin, that one's active.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so we wouldn't look at that, guys. We need to make sure, Don makes a great point there too. We got to make sure that these are that these have sold already. So let's see, we got a 4-2 here. And we can make adjustments, guys. So if it's a little bit off, like if it's like a 3-bed, 2-bath, then it's just a matter of making an adjustment. But here, I mean, this one's kind of tough. Let me see what else we can do. Let's look at sold.
There we go.
I want to look, guys, the way I look at properties too on the map is you don't want to cross over any major roads, or they call it yellow lines. So if it's just like, your typical residential street, like these ones, once you get into the neighborhood, that's completely fine. But any of these like Illinois Avenue, I wouldn't cross that because our subject property is going to be here in the middle, right? So I wouldn't cross any of these. I would just try to stay within that same neighborhood as best as you can.
So do you want to try and draw the map? So much easier when you have a mouse. Thank you. Trying to do that on my trackpad is not the best.
Not the best.
But guys, what he did there is, when you're looking at the map, right? Just like you said, there are certain rules that we don't want to break, if at all possible. But if you do, and there's all those other things, it's because it's the very, very last option, just to give you an idea. It doesn't mean that it's going to be your best comp scenario, but it'll give you an idea where you need to be. But absolutely try to avoid that as much as possible. And then if you can't, then another resource would be just asking the agent. Asking the agent, do they have a CMA? Do they have other comps that they know of that we may not be able to see? Well, that's cute.
Yeah. This one looks like it could have been flipped. So this is a 2-2. Let's try to just find more of a 3-1 for right now. I'm not ruling that one out quite yet, but let's see. Here's a 3-1. Yeah, 2 photos. That's not really going to tell us much. And what we're looking for, guys, or what I look for is properties that look like they've been flipped. What I'm trying to do is establish a baseline of like, what could this property sell for after it's all fixed up and the flipper gets in there. And then what we do is we determine ARV, the after repair value. And then once we establish what the ARV is on our subject property, we'll work backwards and see what our maximum allowable offer will be. So that's the process that we're doing right now.
Right. And guys, on your comping rules, right, when you open that, we're looking at build, we're looking at our year build, we're looking at distance, we're looking at square footage, bedrooms, trying to compare all of those, right? So when you're doing this, if you don't have a whole lot of comps, you want to make sure that you're being careful about what you're keeping, what you're not, right? So like for us, there's a lot of 3-2s, there's a couple of 4-2s, there's 1-4-2, there's a 3-1. So we have a very interesting scenario, right, where we're trying to figure out what our comp would be, and Justin's going through this like a ninja, right, trying to find one. Ooh, that's pretty, that's cute. Okay, so it's a 3-2, right? It's been renovated.
Oh yeah.
Looks like they reused the cabinets and just repainted them.
Mhm.
I would say this is a good comp. What do y'all think?
Put it in the chat. What do you guys think about that one? Yeah? Okay. So when was it sold, Justin?
Let's see.
It was August, I think it said.
August. Okay.
It's back on this page.
There you go. It was
August 30th.
So before you go any further, let's look at the comparables, right? So that property, the build is that 1955? I need to expand.
Yeah, 1955. Ours
Okay,
is 1950.
So it's within our build year, right? So plus or minus 10 years, or some people use plus or minus 5, depending on what it is you're looking for specifically. Where'd it go? Did you delete it?
No.
You hit the eyeball, not the eye.
Does that delete it?
Yeah.
I can reset it.
Okay.
We'll get it back.
Go back down. See, guys, even we hit the wrong button all the time.
All right. Here we go. It's this one.
All right, it's that one.
23
So
Hollywood.
let's see. It looks like in this house they have one more bathroom. That's not, something that we need to get rid of, right? It's comparable. We can just make an adjustment since we have only a couple that maybe we can compare to. But let's look at the lot size compared. It's comparable. It's that property is a little smaller, but it's not too terrible. Square footage, where are we at on square footage? Within our range of plus or minus 200 square feet. And then distance, it's almost a half a mile away, but still within the range that we can use as a comp. So I think that's a good one. Why don't we look at, can you filter at the top and go sort by bed? No, you were there in the comps. There you go. Got it. So do we have any other 3-1s that we can look at that may have been renovated? Why don't we click through those a little bit? Does that look like a comp, guys? Can we use that one as a comp? No. Why not? right? It's not fixed up. So it doesn't give us a true market value of what our subject property could be sold for, right? It's Oogle. I love that, Junior. Oh, okay. So we can probably get rid of that one in our comping section, right? So that was Ferndale.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of that one. Yeah, let's go to that one. Scroll down just a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, probably won't be able to use that one as a comp, so we can get rid of that one on Melbourne. Let's see. You can go to the Wilbur. Yeah.
Oh, that's that one yeah,
Okay.
this one didn't have any photos.
Okay.
That one. So yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Let's
all
try
the
one of
blue
the
ones.
Berkeleys. Or the 1622 Berkeley. Let's see what that one is.
Oh, I think we got one.
There we go. That could be a comp, right? Yeah, it's good, right? So that's one thing I wanted to point out. That a lot of times in Privy, you'll see, can you go back to the comps, Justin?
Mhm.
Scroll down. So you see how the 1506 Melbourne, how it shows that it was purchased or sold at 266 and then resold again for 399. A lot of times Privy will pick up and say, oh, that was a investor property, right? Because maybe it was renovated, or what that also could show is that maybe it was listed super low and someone bought it and did renovations to it, but they could have just been holding on to it for a long period of time and fixed it up over that time. And because that price difference is so high, Privy thinks it was done by an investor, right? So anytime you see that where it shows that double number, that's something you want to pay attention to and look at. But if it doesn't have that double number showing there and it just has the single price, it doesn't mean that it wasn't a fix and flip. Okay, so that's why it's important to click through all of them just to make sure, because then we found that 1622 Berkeley that is definitely a comp and it's really close to our subject property, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Perfect. So now we have two comps, right? We have the
Yeah, we got
1622
1622
and then 2323 Hollywood,
Hollywood. Yep.
right? Okay, let's see. What about the 1718 Homewood?
Yeah, I think this one
You
was
like that one?
yeah, I like this one too.
Cool. I love that tile. Okay, so we kind of found some. Do you think we could probably, oh, but here's the problem with that Homewood, right? It's a 2-2,
Mm-hmm.
right? So guys, you tell us, do we need to keep this one as a comp? No one wants to answer that question. Dameon, what do you think? Oh, did we lose Dameon? Okay. Roby says, yes, we should keep it. We got a few no's in here. Let me see. Roby, I'm going to pull you up, man. If I can get out of the screen. Roby, I'll get you in a minute. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, guys, and we can definitely keep it, especially since we don't have a whole lot of comps that have the same characteristics that we're looking for. We just need to make the adjustment when we're doing our ARV, right? So when we're doing our ARV, yeah, it's got a huge lot size. That was what I saw. It was giant, right? So that was kind of what threw me off. It was the bedrooms and the lot size. We can't go up in lot size. So we also have to make an adjustment for that. And it's kind of old. So let's check here. 1947, still within our range, right? But we have, let's see, 1622 and Hollywood. The only problem with those two, right, is that the 1622 Berkeley. So that one is sold recently, right? But the other one was sold, probably a couple months ago. So yeah, Haley, I agree. That one's sold there. And I typically, what I like to do, Justin, is I sort by sold date.
Mhm.
So if you sort by sold date, anything that's June and back for sure, I'm getting rid of.
Yeah.
Because I want to go through this as quick as I can, right? And use the most recent comp so I don't have to do a whole lot of adjustments. And let's see. I'd probably get rid of the July one for sure. So see how quickly we just narrowed that down, right? Made our lives a little easier. Now, if you do that and you don't have a whole lot of comps, then you might have to make some adjustments. But for this purpose here, we're just gonna narrow it down that way. What you got there?
Let's see. This one looks like it's been well kept.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Scroll down. Let's see the description a little bit. Yeah, so it looks like they've lived in this home, right? They have made these improvements for themselves, and so now they want to sell it. So it's not necessarily a flipper, right?
Windows and HVAC has been replaced fairly recently too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I think let's see what the characteristics on this are.
Roby asked, does it have to be, I'm assuming, Roby, you're asking if it has to be flipped by an investor? No, but we look at to see if a flipper was doing it because we know that they're an investor. If they are just a homesteader that's lived in the home and made improvements, that's great too. It still shows that, we can use it as a comp, but it just shows the difference, right? I want you guys to be able to see the difference in a homesteader really taking care of their home, putting in the improvements themselves, and then versus an investor and what a fix and flipper would look like. So no, you can use both. It's just a good way to kind of see who owned it and who bought it. Okay, so Justin, which comps do we want to use?
I like that one, that Lansford one. I think we already looked at this Hollywood one. We determined that that was a good one.
Did we look at that one, the 1910 Berkeley?
Let's see.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
I like that kitchen.
yeah.
Okay, scroll down the description real quick. Cool. Okay. Is this a 3-2?
This is a 3-2, 1,296 square feet.
Okay, so yeah, I like that one. Let's go back to our comps real quick. Okay, so the only issue I have with the Lansford one is that it's a 2-1.
Mhm,
That's the one I have a problem with. What do you
mhm.
think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we can make an adjustment, and just, you would add additional value to it to kind of adjust that price there if
Mhm.
it were a 3-bedroom, 1-bath.
Well, and also look at the year.
Yeah, it's a little outside of the year built that I would want to stay into. I typically don't go outside of either 10 years above or 10 years below.
Right.
And that one for me, it's probably just a little too old to be a comparable.
Perfect. So then why don't we just get rid of that one and stick with 3 comps that we have? And Joseph, you're on the right track, but we're getting there, I promise. So now we have our 3 comps. Guys, what do we do next? What's the next step? After you find 3 comps, what are we supposed to do? How do we use that information? Right, we find the ARV. Perfect. So how do we calculate the ARV? Average of square foot. Yeah, that's one way. I think that's the way that Justin likes to do it too, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Justin, go ahead and do your thing. Maybe pull up your calculator so people can follow along so we can see the average price per square foot and find the ARV that way.
Let's do it.
And guys, there's multiple ways that you can kind of do it. Some people like to use the price per square foot. Some like to use the sold price, right? So I typically try to use the sold price, but I will calculate the price per square foot just to kind of see the range there, if there is any.
So 6 plus.
Got to talk it out for us, Justin. Can you show the calculator on your screen?
Is it not showing?
No, you might have to stop share and then reshare. Let me find Dameon again. We lost him. There he is. My bad, man.
That's good. My thing is bugging.
So Dameon, when you do your price per or when you do your ARV, which one do you use? Which way do you
I
go?
use sold price. Yeah. So I think it's a lot easier doing that, and also just like seeing like the home prices that are selling just recently, like 2 or 3 months. Kind of have a good idea of kind of where I want my price to be as far as ARV.
Mm-hmm. And to you, what's the difference between using the sold price versus using the price per square foot?
I think typically I feel like you can get more out of your ARV if you use the price per square foot. Going that way with it. Using ARV, because if you use like it depends on how many you're using. If you're using like how many you're kind of using the averages of the sold price, because like this one house for 300 and the other one's for 381. So that's gonna like bring your ARV like way down lower than like what you would do if you did like average square foot. I feel like
Okay.
I think it just may be a little bit easier just to do it like just by doing the average of sold price
Yeah. Yeah.
for like people that are newer. I feel like fix and flippers and people that like actually do like that, they might actually go that way with it. It just depends on how you like want about it.
And that's one of those things, guys. That's why comping is an art. It's not a science. I think I've even had a few of my buyers, when I asked them how they look at comps, they like to use the price per square foot. But you run into issues, right? Especially when it comes to inflation and using the price per square foot, it's hard to combat that, and you have to make some adjustments, which we will. But Justin, why don't you walk us through step by step how you got that number?
All right, guys. So what I did pretty much was, well, let me start here. So what we're looking at is, all these properties, they're 3-bed, 2-bath. Our subject property is going to be a 3-bed, 1-bath. So typically how I do it is I would already make my adjustment based on the price they have there. And I want to make it similar to my subject property. So I would deduct because I want that 1 bathroom, so it's more of a comparable. So if it's a full bath, this is just like for me in my experience, I would deduct like $10,000 from that price right there, that 300K for that specific property. And I'll just go ahead. I have a little whiteboard here, so I'm just going to write this down. And other than that, it's pretty comparable, to our other property that we have. So I'll go ahead and do.
So what you're doing, right? You're adjusting for the lack of a second bathroom, right? So you're taking this Hollywood Avenue, since the purchase price right now was 300,000, you're taking 10,000 off of that, right? So when people are trying to do that with the price per square foot, how does that change the price per square foot? How do you find that calculation?
So obviously like $10,000 minus 300, you're at 290 now.
Mhm.
So then you'll do 290,000 divided by the square footage of that property, which is 1525. So your actual price per square foot, sorry, I'm not using this calculator, I was on my phone, but now I'm at $190 per square foot. where
Does
this
that
was-
make sense to everybody? How you can make that adjustment if you need to adjust your price per square foot? Let me see in the chat. Perfect. If it doesn't, guys, that's okay. Let us know. Cool. Okay, so Justin's gonna make his adjustments, and then we will be able to find the price per square foot. And while he does that, I'm gonna do the same. So guys, what I do just like Dameon does, but I do it by price. And so what I'll do is I'll still take the adjustment of 10 grand off of each. So I'll take 300,000 plus 331 plus 381. Then I'll take 30 grand off of that total. And then I'll divide it by 3. All right, Justin, you got your number?
Almost.
And plus, I like to do it by price because it makes it faster.
It is faster to do it that way, for sure.
There's too many numbers, too many calculations sometimes. Damien, you see
Okay.
Junior's question in the chat? You want
Let
to
me
answer?
take a look. Do you have comp cheat sheet? Yeah. Is there one in the resource tab in the
Let's see.
the
Like the flip calculator, or
no? Oh, is that what you meant? I thought he meant like what to look for whenever you're comping.
yeah, we put
Like,
that in
you
the
know,
chat. Junior, that's what you shared.
Yeah, that's the sheet that you shared.
Is that what you're
I don't
asking?
know if that was your question exactly, but yeah,
Thank you, Mike.
thanks.
All right, Justin, you got it?
I got it.
All right, what'd you get?
I got 332,000.
Okay, so 332,000. So once you found the average price per square foot, right? What was the average price per square foot you came up with?
I didn't write that down, but let me do it real quick. It won't take long. 232.
Okay, so you got 232. So now to get to your actual ARV number, you're taking 232 times the square footage of our subject property, right?
That's correct.
So that is, let me see, where is that? It's 1432, right? So you took those two numbers and you came up with how much?
$332,000.
Okay, so guys, I came up with $327,300. So you see how there's a difference there, right? Sometimes it's a small one. In this case, it's pretty small. But have you seen in other instances where I've seen it's like 20 grand or more sometimes with the price per square foot? So
Yeah.
how can we use that information, Dameon, when you have a difference between the price per square foot ARV and the price ARV? What does that usually tell you?
That you're pretty much in the same, like you're on the right track as far as that. And honestly, especially nowadays, I would kind of go with the latter, the one that like has the lowest amount, just to kind of hedge against the inflation right now and the way the market's turning. So always kind of be conservative with your numbers.
And we didn't
If
even
you
take
want to do
off,
both ways, you can honestly. Just see which one switch.
and we haven't even taken off yet our market adjustment, right? Because these
Yeah.
properties sold over a month ago,
Yep.
right? A couple months ago. So what adjustments are you guys making right now in your percent ARV or your ARV to make that market adjustment? Are you using 5%, 10%, 15%? Where do you think that stands for y'all right now?
I would say 10 to 15.
Okay, so do we want to say and be conservative and maybe do 12 and a half?
Okay.
Right in the middle? Everyone good with that? Because every market's a little different, right? Dallas could be where people are taking 15% off, but Austin could be where they're taking 10%, or in other markets in other states. You have to kind of learn your market and what's happening there to be able to really identify what that number could be. So it's talking to a lot more people. And even sometimes agents will tell you what adjustments they made as far as percentage when it comes to what they're listing their prices for. So use all the resources that you have at the table. So if we're going to go with the lower one, which would be my number versus Jason or Justin's, I'm going to take 10% from my $327,333. So I'm just going to adjust and multiply that by 0.1%. Oh, sorry, 0.2125. 125. So I got to take $40,000 off of that number, right? So $40,916. Everybody tracking with me? Cool. So I said it was what, $327,300? Is that right?
Yeah,
Not
327.
3 million. My goodness. So I'm just going to take that 327.33 and minus what we did for our market adjustment on our ARV for 916 or 40,916. So that brought my ARV to 286,417. How does everybody feel about that number? Good. There you go, Kike. Next. Perfect. So guys, once we have the ARV, what's next? What do we do? Everyone's like, I don't know. You tell us. What's next? Dameon, what do we do next?
So then you would kind of want to base it off of, going through like your repairs and everything like that. Like what kind of things do you plan on doing? So that's when you put yourself kind of in the buyer's shoes, or as far as the fix and flipper or whatever the case and buyer is, and think as far as like what would they offer for that kind of property do based off what kind of work they need to put into it. So you have to think about the closing costs that they're going to pay on their side. You have to think about the resale value. You have to think about the holding costs whenever they get a loan. A lot of times I like to ask my fix and flippers, like, what kind of loans are you looking at right now, to kind of see how much they have to put as far as how much money down, what kind of percentages they're getting on their interest rates, to kind of see how long they're going to hold it, how long the project's going to be. All those things mean a lot to the fix and flipper. So you have to take in effect that as well whenever you're kind of like selling that kind of contract to them, whenever you're wholesaling it to them.
Right. So that's perfect, right? And Kike said it right there. You can run it through the flip calculator, right? That's as if you were the buyer, right? That tells you everything that you would need to know if you were the buyer and what you need to expect for holding costs and repairs and all of that, just like Dameon said. So yeah, you can run it through that. But let's say, Dameon, you're my buyer, right? And we're looking at this property and you're like, cool, what's your price percentage that you're looking to buy at in this area, Dameon?
65%.
Yeah, 65%. Is that including repairs, or do you want me to minus repairs from that 65%?
Let's just say that's everything.
That's everything? Okay,
Yeah.
that leaves you enough cushion. Okay, so cool. So guys, we took our number at 286,000, multiplied that by 0.65. So, and the reason we did that is because our ARV is 286. And so we now know that in order for us to make this a deal, or for us to put an offer in on it, we can't be any higher than $185,900, right? But wait a minute, that's not including your assignment fee, right? So what do we need to do next? We got to take off our assignment. So I want to make, let's say 10,000. Cool. So that means I need to go and put an offer in at 175,900. But let's look at what it's listed for. It's 320, right? So everyone's afraid of submitting lowball offers, right? How would you feel, Justin, if you went in and submitted an offer at this price?
I mean, if I was a seller, or buyer.
Right. But here's the other interesting thing, right? This property has an ADU. So would we be willing to go up in our price, or would we maybe be able to talk to our buyer and see if they'd be willing to adjust their price that they're willing to go to at this property?
Yeah.
Right? Because if it can be a cash flowing property for two properties essentially, then maybe they would be willing to make an adjustment. And Junior, you got to make sure it's permitted, right? That's one thing that you can ask on a follow-up call. And just say, hey, we're really interested in this property. I just want to make sure, I know you have tenants in there, but I just want to make sure that ADU or the mother-in-law suite is permitted, right? And the reason you do that is because if it's not permitted, and then you go to buy and think that you can have two properties that you can essentially collect rent on, but you can't because the county says, wait a minute, this isn't a livable space. We know nothing about it, right? We haven't inspected it yet to make sure it's okay for that purpose. So you have to make sure that you're asking all those questions. So guys, how do we feel about this number? Tell me in the chat. Does that all make sense to everybody? How we got there? I love Junior. Man, he's like, let's do it.
Let's email her.
Perfect. Dameon, you got anything you want to add to that?
Oh, no, definitely not. Yeah. I think that's kind of covering everything as far as, especially like considering the 80 unit. Yeah.
If you,
how would you guys kind of want to add that into it?
That's what I was going to ask you is, in this scenario,
Mhm.
right now that we know that we have an ADU, what adjustment would you make? Would you still take that 10% or maybe add it back because you have an ADU, or would you maybe do 5%?
Yeah, I would think I would definitely just lower the market adjustment, or yeah, you could take it off to kind of compensate for that extra kind of unit in there. And then definitely go back and ask about that permission, or is it permitted and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. Guys, was this helpful?
I think Robbie had his hand up.
Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to get everybody in here. Roby.
Is it Robbie? Okay.
I know I do the same thing. I have to tell my brain that it's
It's all right. Everybody butchers my name. It's all
I know, I'm sorry, Roby. I'm sorry. Justin, go
Well,
ahead.
if I were sensitive, I wouldn't have lasted the 2 decades in the military that I spent. So I could tell you that now. I have fairly thick skin, and I usually leave my feelings at home where they belong. So no, I had when I was running through, so I've looked at several of this comping thing is just, oh my God. But anyway, you guys introduced something a little newer that I wasn't clear, that kind of confused me. I thought I had it down, but now I'm confused. So I get the part about finding the comps that you're looking for, and I get how to calculate those numbers. That part doesn't, I get that. And then the market reduction, I understand that. But then I was in there and you did the multiple, like in this case, instead of the 7, you went with 65% of whatever the calculated ARV at this point is. But what I was doing was I was saying, well, okay, if I calculate an ARV of, let's say 300, and then I go in and I take 70% of that, and then I was reducing it by the amount of rehab that I've expected to do.
Mhm.
And then the fee, is that not still the case? I mean, because
No,
it didn't look like you reduced it by any of that.
Well, you heard that I asked Dameon, right? Right. I was like, because Dameon's my buyer. We went through that scenario. I asked Dameon, I said, hey, Dameon, if you wanted to, purchase in this area, purchase this property, what percentage of ARV are you buying at? And he said
Oh, okay.
65%. And then my follow-up question was, okay, great. Is that everything included, or do you also want me to take repairs off of that 65%?
Okay. Okay. I'm tracking. I'm
Does
with
that make
you.
sense?
It
Because
does.
guys, you're gonna run into buyers in different markets and different areas that do it so many different ways. Okay. And Roby, it's a perfect question. I'm glad you asked it because I want to clarify that. Yes, when you're doing your numbers for you, if you haven't talked to a buyer about a property yet, or if you're just looking to see if this is going to be worth it to submit an offer on to go find a buyer, then yes, doing it the way that you were doing is perfectly fine. I do it both ways. I
Okay.
like to really get in the numbers. I look at it with the percentage point. Sometimes it's 70%, 65%, 55%. It just depends. And then I'll take it a step further and I'm like, all right, well, I want to see what it looks like at those percentages minus what my repairs would be, right? Because if I know that I have buyers that buy both ways, right? And then I'm obviously in both scenarios, I'm going to take off my assignment because I want to be able to make something, right? I'm not going to submit an offer based on what all of that is and just go with that because that would be nothing for me. So does that help?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. No, you're doing everything right. You have this down. It's just something that as you go, you're going to be able to be like, oh, okay, I know Jason wants to go buy at this minus this and all, that takes care of it. But then you run into, someone else that's like, oh, just 65%. Anything, if it's at 65% or lower, I'm good. I don't care what the repairs are. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. Those are some good follow-up questions when you're talking and building relationships with buyers. So that way you can make sure you have that clear.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Anything else?
No, right now I'm just trying to get a list of buyers to get all these numbers from. I mean, fortunately, buyers are a whole lot easier to talk to than realtors. Well, if you can get a hold of them, but
yeah, for sure. And that brings up something else I want to kind of clarify. Dameon, Justin, do you need a buyer to be able to go and put offers in on properties? No.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
It's
so,
ideal.
well, okay, that begs the question. If I let's say I find a house and I think, well, okay, it's worth putting in an offer on. I put in an offer on, they accept the offer, let's say. So now I'm sitting with that. I've got 10 or well, I haven't put a contract on it. Now, where do I go from there?
When the offer's accepted?
Yes. Do I pursue a contract? And then if I don't find a buyer in 10 days, just say I can't make it work financially, or
Dameon, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so I mean, that's when like you kind of would just come back to like, say the creative financing group or anybody that that's like, has buyers and you kind of just JV the contract with them. It makes it a lot easier for you, especially when you don't have buyers. Just knowing somebody else that does have buyers or you have was it like 63,000 people in that Facebook group that you can just reach out to, say, hey, I have a deal. I need help JVing with anybody that has buyers in this area. It's the quickest way to do it, especially with that kind of time frame, especially if you don't have buyers. So,
okay.
And guys, that's what the inspection period, right? Typically, an inspection period is for inspections, right? It allows you time to be able to book those if you were buying a house, right? So, but for us as investors, that inspection period is so if you don't have a buyer lined up, but you know that, oh my gosh, I could totally make something on this. This is a great deal. I can help this person. I can help this agent. Now I just need to go find a buyer. That can be used as your marketing time, right? So if you don't have a buyer, that's what you can use that time for, right? I also try to market it. Once I find something that I know I'm going to submit an offer on, I'm instantly starting to market if I know I don't have a buyer that wants to buy in my circle, right? So, I mean, it doesn't happen that way all the time that you have buyers just lined up and biting at the chomp for anything you bring them. That's going to take time to build relationships, or it's just not the right timing for them. So ideally we want a buyer lined up. It makes things go so much smoother. But if you don't, it's okay. You just have to make sure, okay, I submitted an offer. it's accepted. I've already got the contract. Oh my gosh, I got to go market this, right? Put it out there to people. Dameon markets like crazy on Facebook. I see all of his marketplace posts, and we all do the same thing. So I don't want it to keep you guys from actually moving forward and from you submitting offers. If you don't have buyers, it's okay. But once you get an offer accepted, you need to hustle. So having a buyer beforehand just cuts all of that out, right? It cuts out the worry, it cuts out you having to panic for the next 10 days after you sign your contract, right? So hopefully that makes sense.
Can I add to that too? Just one thing. So I had a deal. It was on the outskirts of DFW, and I got it under contract. I did not know any buyers in that area, like same exact situation we're talking about. And through my network, I found an investor that knows like thousands of buyers just because they've been doing it for so long. So I connected with that guy, and he was like, oh yeah, I know buyers in this area. Like, we've been doing deals here for years. So they were actually like the local expert in that market. And on top of that, their network was so much bigger than mine in that market. We ended up JVing, joint venturing together on it, partnering on it. So we split the assignment fee 50-50, and he literally got it sold within like 2 days. And it was way more than what I thought it would go for too, because they kind of like bid on top of each other at that point. So it's super helpful, like especially in a market where you don't have all those buyers, to find someone local in that market to team up with that and then sell the deal that way.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll run into people just like Justin's talking about, where they may not be interested themselves to buy it, but they want to help you sell it. So you may come up with some sort of JV agreement for them because they're bringing you a resource to the table to be able to sell this property. And so then everybody should get a portion of the pie at that point, right? You just figure out what that is with that person. So if someone, like, you make a post in Discord, you make a post in the creative group, and you have people like, yeah, I have buyers, don't let that, discourage you from maybe working with them. Just be very clear on what it is your expectations are with that person. So that way you guys both know what it is that you're going to get involved with each other, right? What's, the JV agreement look like? Hey, thank you for bringing me a buyer. How can we work together on this, right? So lots of different things can come out of that process. Until you get into it, you won't know, right? So mainly what we're trying to say is go get the information from the agent, right? If you're looking at a property, try to call the agent beforehand. But if you're comping late at night and you just run across a property, you can comp it, right? If it's after hours, comp the property before and then go talk to the agent, see if you need to make adjustments after talking with the agent, right? But you don't want to waste too much time by comping 20 properties and you've never asked a question to an agent about any of those properties. Protect your time, protect your effort, and so that way you can go submit offers more often than just comping, right? So hopefully that helps, Roby.
Does a lot, actually.
Awesome. Great job, man. Great question. It's good to see you.
You as well.
Sorry, Roby, I didn't mean to push you off like that.
No,
Selena,
it's all good. I don't mind not being on the stage. I've been giving Mario some love this week, so.
Kike, I'm gonna get to you in just a second. I just saw something in the chat, and Selena, do you have your camera so I can pull you up real quick? If I can find you. Where'd she go? No, shouldn't have a camera. Okay, so can you unmute though so we can talk, or are you at work? I think she might be at work. Okay, we're gonna give her a minute. But she asked a question that said, so for this specific situation for cash buyers only, or would it be done different if we were trying to do a creative? This is the price for getting our offer regardless. So
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so you're wondering if this would be the price if we did cash versus creative?
Yeah, I mean, do we always just want to come in on this price point regardless? I mean, it seems like there's a variation for sure.
Well, so yeah, this is for a cash offer, right?
Okay,
If we
yeah.
wanted to do something creative, it'd be completely different.
Completely different. But I mean, would this be a good base? Like, if we're thinking about submitting it and they already said okay to the offer and everything, then we would just kind of take this as our base number and work off of this specific number that we've gotten.
Damien, you want to answer that?
Yeah, as far as for the cash offer, yeah. So if they're accepting that offer, then yeah, you want to base all your numbers from that point. If
So
it
you
if
use this
it,
number that we calculated as the base number and then kind of build off of that if we're deciding to go to creative.
well, no, so that's a whole different thing. So when it gets creative,
Okay.
you have kind of a lot more options as far as kind of getting that seller a higher price.
Right.
And then that way you can kind of negotiate as far as like what kind of price they're okay with, depending on what kind of extra strategy there is that you guys come up with. But yeah, it depends on whatever situation they're going through. We don't really know what their situation is. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, but do you keep this number in kind of in the back of your mind though, for
So,
sure?
I mean, a lot of times, yeah, what I do with that number is I'll kind of, I'll use that as like a twofold type of thing. So like I'll let them disqualify this number and then I'll have another kind of set of things that I can
Gotcha.
kind of offer them and just
Okay,
kind of
but
use it
you
that
always
way.
kind of keep this one in the back of your mind as like kind of this is my base.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. That's what I got.
Yeah, no
Awesome.
problem.
Great question. Okay. All right, Kike, what you got? Hi.
Hi. So you kind of answered my question in the sense of like how much time do you spend comping per offer? Because if I want to send out 10 offers a day, but I have to do this on 10 properties, it just seems super time consuming and complicated because, you know, there are all these, I mean, the two different strategies, average price per square foot and sold price, seem really simple, and sold price gets you there really quick. And just having the little, nuggets of, 10,000 off here for bedrooms or whatever. And then the market adjustment was really helpful too. But how much time does one spend? Because that's where I'm stuck right now. Running numbers, I've got so many agents to follow up with that I said, oh, let me run some numbers on those properties. I have at least 4 right now, and I'm still like stuck.
So, and I'll let the other guys chime in on this too, right? It all depends, right? It depends on a lot of things because how much of a potential deal could it be, right? Is it listed, lower than what it normally would be? What's the motivation? All of those things play a role, but comping at the beginning is painstakingly slow. You have a lot you're trying to think about. You're like, wait, is that right? Is this good? And well, I don't know if that's a comp and this doesn't make sense, right? You're going through all these little emotions yourself, trying to learn how to comp. But as you do it more and spend time on it, you'll get through it quick. Like you saw how Justin was just like, boom, 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 boom. And I had to slow him down because he gets into his routine of doing it. Ideally, it would take you maybe 5 minutes to comp a property once you start getting really good at it. And I know that seems like super far away, right? Some properties are difficult because you don't have a lot of comps to work with, but some are really quick. It's like, oh my gosh, this is like a treasure chest of comps that we can use, which makes it really easy. And then the hardest part is just deciding which ones you want to use, right? And going through the pictures and seeing what that is. So it can vary, but you're doing the right things by talking with the agent and then saying you'd follow up with them. So that way you're cutting out a lot of the guesswork that you're doing for yourself. And by getting those little nuggets from agents, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's definitely not a comp. This isn't a comp. This doesn't work. You'll start to disqualify other potential properties as you're comping based on what you learned from the agent as well. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay.
Guys, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just want to say, so like just to echo what Don said, more or less, the more you do this, just like anything else, it gets easier and easier and easier. I know at first it does suck. It takes a lot of time, but like once you know what you're looking for, it makes it a whole lot easier. Obviously, I think someone asked for like the comping cheat sheet earlier too. I would just like take a look at that and like study that a little bit. And that way, when you're going through it, you know, you'll probably have to look at first, oh, this one has one less bathroom, or it's missing a powder bath, etc. What would you deduct on that? But once you kind of know all the ins and outs, it does get a lot easier. I wouldn't set like a time parameter on it necessarily. I would just say take your time, like make sure like you have some solid comps, and however long that takes you, don't let it, you know, if you're on it for 10 minutes, like that's okay. Just take your time, get it right at first. And then as you keep on doing it, you'll get quicker and quicker, and you won't spend all that time on it like you were when you were starting out.
Great. Thank you guys. That's all I got.
You're welcome. Good question. All right, guys, it's the time for questions. So if you got something, raise your hand. Let's answer them. We are here to help. We like to answer questions. Nobody? Nobody's got a question? Oh, there we go. Hi, Jen.
Hey guys,
Hey.
so can y'all hear me first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sometimes it works and doesn't. So I have a question. So I'm putting a contractor, hopefully they get it accepted for non-market property in the Waco area. I have a few people on the backside that are like, yeah, when you get it sealed up, let me know. So hopefully they'll accept my offer. At least they're looking it over and didn't say no immediately. So I'll take that as a positive. My question is, one of the first buyers that I have, she is an agent in New Jersey. Now I know laws say you can't give referral fees, all those things to a non-agent, but can you still assign the contract and get a fee from somebody that is an agent? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that doesn't kick into like a referral fee situation.
Yeah. So is the agent in New Jersey the one that's buying it, right?
Right. She was like,
Yeah.
she was even like, if you're an agent, you can represent me, you know, see what you can do. And I was like, I'm not an agent, just full transparency, not an agent. And so she was like, I don't know how this works. And I said, well, I would just assign the contract to you. But then I'm like, oh, is that allowed by law to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I mean, whenever you're assigning, it's really you're flipping paper. So like you have a contract that you signed with the seller, and you're just selling that paper that you got to that buyer. So with you in between, you're selling it at whatever price you want to sell it to that person for, and at that point, you're just like they say, selling paper.
Yeah, and Mike said it in the chat too. He said there's a difference between acting as an agent and acting as a buyer. So even though this agent is an agent, if she's buying the property, then she shouldn't be buying it with her agent hat on. She should be buying it as an individual, right?
And I think, yeah, and I honestly, I think that's what her goal is, because she's like, I want rental property down here, and that's the thing that she wants to do. I've already talked to a property manager to see what could she get for rent in those areas. So I know that that's what she wants to do.
Yeah, I think maybe just educating her on that, because she may not know. She may not know that she can't buy as an agent.
Right. And it's just for me too, because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, obviously. And just want to make sure I say it the right way and that this is legal to get a fee for her to sign the contract.
For her, it would cause problems if she bought it as an agent, right, with her brokerage. Right. Okay. She doesn't want to do that.
Right.
If she wants to buy it as her personal rental, but maybe use her business LLC that she uses for her agent, like agent payments, I guess, or how she gets paid from her brokerage, that's different, right? So she has to be able to separate herself from being an agent buying this and being an individual. As far as if she can use that same LLC that she does for her listings, that's something she would need to talk to someone about just to make sure. Okay. But at the very least, she can just buy it in her individual name.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. I'll remove you there. All right, guys. Any other questions? We got plenty of time. We got about 15 minutes. Shin, I love it. What's up?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions. First of all, I've been calling agents, and sometimes the agent tells me that the property is occupied with tenant with more than 6 months of lease left. And I think you're calculating the property with the tenant in today, but how do you feel about those property? Do you still offer cash offer, or do you kind of go straight to a more creative side of a strategy?
I'll let you answer that, Dameon.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's 6 months, that's pretty long to even kind of consider doing a flip kind of thing. So it'd probably be a buy and holder that kind of be more interested in that. So you kind of want to know if they're month to month, if they're like a long-term lease, or kind of what their more monthly payments are already in that fact. So you want to kind of get all that information. So whenever that buyer, like like we were saying before, get all that information for your buyer so they know ahead of time like what they're buying at that point.
And a question
yeah.
I like to ask Dameon is, if there are tenants and you're basically inheriting the tenants, right, as a buyer,
Yeah.
do you have, as the buyer, the legal right to terminate that agreement, or do you have to follow through with the agreement if there are tenants on the property after you purchase it?
So yeah, if they're long-term tenants, and you have to abide by that at that point. If they're month to month, then you can have the option of raising the rates to see if they still are open to staying there based off like it changing. But yeah, it just depends if they already have a lease in place or if they are month to month.
Gotcha. Does that help, Shin?
Yeah, so wait, so if it's a month to month, we just offer a cash offer and I guess try to move the tenant, but otherwise just do a tradition, I guess less conventional creative finance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, got it. Okay, and I have another question. So I've been talking to some people and they are motivated to sell, but I guess I talked to the agent that they said that they are not open to creative financing because they have, I guess they're either old or have health problem. Is that kind of end of the conversation for a creative option? You know,
Justin, you wanna answer that?
What? Can you say that again? Why they weren't?
yeah. So they are not open to creative financing, like what is it, seller finance, because they are old or they have health problem. So is there any way to help them
Oh,
still?
okay. So I think what you're saying is the seller wasn't open to it because owner financing, you're making them payments over a longer period of
Mhm, yeah,
time.
that
And
doesn't
since they
work
have
for
health
them.
problems,
Mhm,
they don't
yeah.
want to do something. Yeah. There's other creative strategies that we probably won't get into here that would probably solve that could solve their problem there. It just might not be a good fit at that point. I would just try to stick with cash on that one. And if they just said, hey, we need something quicker, and they give you that reason, it might just be best sometimes to move on to the next thing. That'd be my opinion. What do y'all think?
I mean, I agree with that, right? Run into that quite a bit, right? So if they're older, then they're like, no, I want my money now, or maybe they're worried about their kids not inheriting the property or inheriting the property, and they don't want the property. There's a whole slew of things that could be happening, but sometimes they just want to be out of it, so that way that they don't allow their kids to have to deal with that as a hassle. And so they just want to be done. There are, like Justin said, things that you can do to kind of mitigate that and correct it or offer a different solution. But going over that in a hypothetical is it can go down a rabbit hole. So if for something like that specifically, bring to any of the leaders and we can kind of go through what we might be able to do as an option for that gentleman that would help him, and maybe give him some money up front, maybe setting up a balloon or something like that. So,
okay.
But yeah, bring stuff like that to us so we can walk through it with you and see if there is an opportunity. But if he's just wanting cash and he's stuck on that, I would do exactly what Justin said and just, say, okay, well, here's my offer, or you just put them in your follow-up sheet to follow up with that property, see what the status is after a couple weeks, maybe a month, see what happens.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, I think I can do that for the next conversation. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Shin.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, guys? Nothing?
Anybody?
All right, I guess this is a good time, guys, for us to go over our homework, right? We had homework last week. What was that homework, guys? Put in the chat if you were here. Let me see what it is. Were we supposed to call buyers or were we supposed to call agents last week? Yeah, 5 agents per day on the phone. Perfect. 5, whatever you could, right? So how many of you did your homework last week? Anybody? Arena, did you do it? I know you didn't do it. No, I'm just kidding. That's great. Good job. Cool. So we're going to kind of build on that, right? So what are we going to do for homework this time, Justin?
That's a good question. What are we doing for homework?
Well, so I think we take it a step further, right?
Yeah.
They called 5 agents, but then they didn't comp the property. So maybe they go and call the agents and then comp the property and then write an offer, right? Doesn't mean they have to submit the offer. I would hope you submit the offer, by the way. But now you take it a step further and start progressing into it. You get information from the agent, then you go comp that property, and then maybe if you feel comfortable enough, submit the offer. But if anything, I want you guys to start writing offers, even if it's just where you write it and don't send it. Okay. But you'll find that once you start writing an offer, you're going to want to send it. Even if it's terrible, even if you're like, this is not going to work, I'm going to get rejected. That's fine. So, yes, I want you guys to do that. So calling agents again, 5 to 10 a day, and then comping those properties that you called the agents about, or if they give you a different property, right? Because you're supposed to be asking, do you have any other properties that may work? Okay. And then potentially writing up an offer that you can send to an agent. Sound good? Everybody got that?
Yeah. And I actually seen a question come up a couple times about the recording. Are we gonna have the recording like in the Facebook group, or are we gonna post that somewhere for them?
I will get all the recordings in the Discord. There's a little slot, I think, that for resources in Discord that you guys can go back and look at past leader Zooms, so you guys can watch them and follow up. So that's a great question. Guys, what's the difference between an LOI and an offer? Dameon?
Oh yeah. So LOI is basically like so it's exactly what it is, a letter of intent. So it's just basically your intent of like, what you're presenting to offer that seller. Offer is actually like, you signed with your agent or whoever you end up going with, actually signs it and puts it on paper, where you actually take that to title, or title actually makes sure that's actually a like a valid purchase and sale agreement. LOI is just what you're sending out to just like give an idea of what your plan is.
Yeah. And do you type up an LOI for every single property that you send to an agent?
No.
And why not? Why not?
Just it depends on every situation. I'd be honest, like I don't do it on everything.
So what do you do? How do you submit offers?
Yeah. So what I do, I'll kind of, So in a sense, it's not an official LOI that I'll send, but I'll send the idea, basically what a LOI is, what I present of offering to them. It's not the correct format per se every single time, but I do use a per se format that is in the Discord channel. I use that every now and then, and where I'll propose like my cash offer of like what I want to propose, and breaks down like the inspection period, the earnest money, the closing date, the purchase price, all that information, entitled company, just so you have an outline of what the seller is. A lot of agents and sellers just like to see like what the idea is, even if you don't have a contract.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Mike, you got a question? Or you just want to say hi? Is that what that is?
I mean, both. Hi, guys.
What's up?
I thought it'd be worth bringing up, Don, the conversation we had yesterday about, and I don't know if you guys discussed it today, but the difference between an option fee and inspection period. Because
Yes.
here in Texas, it's different than it is in other states. And so for those of us who are in Texas, I think it's worth bringing up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worth bringing up, Don?
Oh, I do. And here's one reason why, is because how many times are agents always right? 100%. Not, yeah. So here's the problem that I had yesterday. I submitted an offer with one of my partners, and he countered back with, okay, well, can you do a 7-day option? Well, we submitted for a 10-day inspection period. So the problem is that he was interchangeably using the option and the inspection. That's what I found out, right? But a lot of times what Mike is alluding to is that there is an inspection period, but there's also an option fee associated with that. And so you'll run into that, especially in Texas. They're like, oh, no, that's the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it is not. And so, Mike, why don't you tell them why those two are not the same?
Sure. So an inspection period, the way that we as investors look at it is that, let's say it's a 10-day inspection period, that gives us 10 days to figure out whether we want to move forward on the property or not, right? And other states, most states, if we submit an earnest money deposit of $1,000, for example, and we decide to cancel within our inspection period, we get that money back from title, right? In Texas, because it's called a mutual release state, if we submit $1,000 to title and we choose to cancel within an inspection period, then it's up to the seller to have a written release to release that money from title. So that basically means that if I send Dameon $1,000, or if I send title $1,000 on a deal that I'm buying from Dameon, and he doesn't write a note saying, please release Mike's $1,000 to him, even if I cancel within my inspection period, title keeps my $1,000. Okay, so huge pain in the butt. In Pace's wholesale contract, there's a clause there that is basically pre-signed that says seller releases earnest money deposit should buyer cancel within the inspection period. Okay, so that's why that clause is super important to either have in states where it's a mutual release state, or in states where you're just worried that you're not going to be able to get your money back. There are certain situations like that. So in this situation with Dawn, if you're, and this happens all the time whenever you're working with agents for on-market deals, because they're always going to want to use the TREC contract in Texas or in any other state, the state regulated contract. It's very rare that you'll send in your wholesale contract to an agent and they'll be like, this works perfectly for me, you know. Doesn't happen. Okay, so on the TREC contract, for example, and I think the same is true, actually no, I won't say that because I don't want to be quoted on that. On the TREC contract, there's a section that says inspection period, and then right below it says option fee. Okay, and so most of the time what the seller's agent is going to want to do is add an option fee in there. So let's say that you request a 7-day inspection period. They're going to say, okay, the option fee is $100, $500, $1,000, or a per day fee. And what happens with that is it's usually going to coincide for the term that you have for the inspection period. So if it's 7 days for the inspection period, your option fee is going to be for 7 days. Okay. So basically what that option fee does is it allows you to cancel within your inspection period, but get your money back in Texas. Okay.
And you said that the inspection and the option fee run simultaneously, right? If you agree to those terms. So it's
Normally,
not like you have 7 days here for the option or the inspection period, and then after that 7 days, there's an option period that includes a fee. Is that correct? It could be either or.
So the inspection period and option fee usually starts on day 1 simultaneously, and they end the same day on day 7 or day 10, whatever you agree to.
Got it.
But here's the issue with the option fee. The option fee is non-refundable. So let's say that you pay a $500 option fee. You don't get that back. Let's say that you pay a $500 option fee and a $1,000 EMD. Okay. You decide to cancel on day 6 of your 7-day option period. You get your $1,000 back, but you have to pay $500 for that. So it's really a $500 fee for that. Okay. So having said all that, the key is to try to negotiate a $0 option fee and try to put in the language in the contract what is in Pace's contract, the wholesale contract, the mutual release clause. So
and I believe on the LOI, it also states that, right?
it does. And so that's actually why normally I'll send in an LOI to the agents that I submit an offer to, is because on the bottom there it says, I forget what the section is called.
Here, hang on. Let me see. I might be able to pull it up real quick.
My
Or-
computer's being slow, but it's basically at the bottom. I think it's other terms and conditions. Yeah, other terms and conditions. And so what I'll do there is I'll just
Oh,
basically
you want mute.
copy and paste the mutual release language in there and say, please include this in the contract.
Yeah, here, hang on. I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
The
So
other,
here's the other thing that I wanted to ask you, Mike, about the LOI, right? So if they accept your offer with this LOI, but it isn't signed at the bottom, do they still have agreed by accepting the offer, they accept the terms on this without signing this page?
so the way that I do it is different than the way that this contract does it. This is really for a larger commercial deal. When I was doing large commercial deals, this is how we would send out our offers. So mine looks a little bit, it basically says the same thing, but I don't have signature sections down there at the bottom.
Right.
And so what I'll do is I'll just basically say, these are the terms of my offer. Essentially, please write it up in your contract. That's
Gotcha.
basically what the LOI for me is for. So I use something very, very similar, but not exact.
Okay. So yours doesn't have this down here, but you asked the agent to include the LOI in the
Correct. Yeah.
verbiage of the
So
contract.
yeah, in fact, let's see if I can kind of show you. I can't show you right now. I can maybe show you guys next time. But the other thing to remember too is when you submit that language, you as the buyer should be able to choose the title company of your choice, right? When you do that, what I always do is make sure that the title company that I use is okay with the language that I have in my contracts, including that clause if I'm including that in the Trek contract. Because there are some companies that go, you know, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with this, and sometimes they do have to run it by their in-house counsel, which is totally fine. I prefer that because then I know that they're comfortable with it and I'm going to get my money back at the end.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That was awesome. Did you guys get any value out of that? Everyone's like, man, I just opened up a whole can of worms. Oh my gosh. Perfect. And guys, if you ever need anything, Mike is a superstar when it comes to helping people. So if you need anything, he's also in the Discord, so feel free to reach out. But yeah, Mike always schools me on stuff. And so that just kind of goes to show you guys that you don't have to be the most experienced to ask for help, or you can be the most experienced and ask for help, because there's things you're going to run into that maybe you haven't yet, someone else did, or walk you through a scenario. So I think it's really great that he comes on and does all that. You know, yeah, Mike Jagger. You know how many Mikes I know after being in this Discord? It's insane. I have Michael McCarty. I have Mike Jagger. I have Mike Jackson. There's Mike Key. I swear there's like 15 or 20 different Mikes that I've met during the Elephant Challenge, and you guys all have the same name. Like, I need to come up with nicknames for you, but y'all give Mike a round of applause or say thank you in the chat
Hi,
for
guys.
explaining all that. And I guess, Justin, if there's nothing else, I think Dameon had to get out because of his connection, but guys, was this helpful? Perfect. Do me a favor, if you can, go into the chat, you put something you learned the chat in Discord, put something you learned from today, tag me, Dameon, and Justin, so that way everybody knows what kind of value you're getting, and so we can keep bringing it, because we love doing this. We love to help you guys. And then as far as next week goes, it is Thanksgiving next week. So obviously we want you guys to go enjoy your time with your families. We're going to do the same, eat a whole bunch of food. So we won't see you next week on Thursday. We'll see you the week after. Sound good? So you got plenty of time to do your homework. Go and do your homework. All right. We'll see you guys later. Justin, you got something you want to add?
I'm good, guys. Just go crush it this week. Happy Thanksgiving, and wishing you and your families a happy holiday.
All right, guys. Same from me. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Have a good day.
Hey, Doug, can you hold up for a second?
What's up?
I have a question for you when we're all done here.
Okay. Can I do a different Zoom with you real quick?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry.